I would like to welcome everybody to today's I Love Real Estate Student Success Story. Thank you so much for joining me. We're just on 12. And what we're going to do is get straight on into another student who has been with the community for about 4 years. It's going on 4 years now. And they came in having a bit of experience, knowing a little bit more and obviously, doing some deals and actually having quite a bit of success, but wanting to take it to the next level. And since they've been in here, they've done some amazing deals and specialized or kind of moved into the area of cash flow and obviously commercial as well, along with that. So let's get straight into it and introduce Jeff. Jeff, how are you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. All good. Yeah. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm really well. And look, I wanted to just say, hey, thanks so much for for joining us here as well.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's always awesome to be able to really kind of get a bit of an insight into what the students are doing, and I just wanted to thank you for taking the time out to join us. So anyway, let's get straight into it. And for those of us joining, we've got on Facebook, and obviously we've got those who are joining us on Zoom as well. So welcome everybody. Now, as a bit of a way to get a bit of an idea, now you've been in the community, like I mentioned, for about 4 years now. Can you give a bit of an insight about what was, I want to kind of understand a little bit about how you joined and where you'd come from, because you've done a bit of kind of investing before, hadn't you?
Yeah, I did a little bit of education, shall we say, if that's what you call it, back in about 2000. In case you hadn't picked up on my glamorous accent, I'm actually from New Zealand.
Yep, I got that.
The education, it basically had one strategy: buying under market value, and yeah, that was about it. So it wasn't much help. It gave me a few ideas, but nothing much. We'd invested in a couple of normal rental properties over there, and we're a bit creative with those, where one of them was a large house, and it had a sleep out off the side of the garage, which we turned into a 2-bedroom unit. There was another one. It was a little old house on the front of a big block, so we built another house on the back. So we sort of, the things like that we did another spec build and some renovations, and most of what we were doing, we were just fumbling along with. Luckily enough, did really well. It was just dumb luck. We managed to time the booms back then fairly well, and the values of the properties went in our favor, so that was good. Prior to that, I'd been over here in the late 80s and 90s, met my wife, and we'd gone back there for, I don't know, it was about 12 years we were over there, and then decided we liked the weather better here, so came back and thought there was more opportunities here. Spent several years there while the kids were growing up. I was off, just working, doing the dad thing, all the pickups and drop-offs. So got very involved in their sports and other activities, being the coach. So that was all good fun.
So but you were the coach for your kids' teams, yeah?
Yeah, for the soccer teams, and the swimming club coach and swimming club president, all that sort of thing. And swimming's a bit of a big thing in my life. I was out in the ocean this morning, swimming about 3K. So yeah, that's a big thing for me. But it got to the point where we were living in Sydney, had a bit of capital there from the other projects over in New Zealand, and looked at the prices of things in Sydney. Didn't want to be tied to the bank for the next 100 years. So thought, well, we like being close to the beach, and that's not going to happen in Sydney. So that's how we ended up in Newcastle, which is where I live now. We bought a property here back at the time. That's probably 15 odd years ago. So, obviously the market's moved a lot since then. When we bought that, I looked at it and thought, oh yeah, corner block, that's great. We can do something with it. Didn't really know whether we could or not. And sort of quite a few years later, thought, righto, it's time, first kid had left home. So it's time to start thinking about what we're going to do with this block. And it was around about then, I guess I was looking for something to do that was going to give me a bit of guidance, a bit of education, what's the best way of doing things. So saw Dymphna's little thing come up on the side of Facebook, and
as you do, yep,
advertising the one-day event. So I went along to that. Actually went along with a friend who she's into investments and all that sort of stuff too. But after the one-day thing, she was a little bit skeptical, bit anti, and in the back, I'm a fairly agreeable person and wasn't sort of going against what she was saying. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, no, this looks good. This gels with me. Didn't sign up on the day and had a good thing about it for the next couple of days. But I knew that you were doing another one-dayer. That was in Newcastle. And I knew you were doing another one-dayer down in Parramatta on that weekend. And I thought, right, I'm going to sign up to this. I'm going to do the day trip down to Parramatta and sit through this stuff again and sign up. So that's where we first met, Michael. I bumped into you there and you signed me up and got me going.
That's right. I know. I do. I remember it because you were clearly serious about wanting to learn, and it's interesting to hear a little bit more of the backstory, that you'd already done a little bit of education prior, and that had helped you, and then you realised the value of that education. And interesting one, because I mean you paid in cash too, which was that was unusual. You just came in and were like, I'm here, I'm doing it. Here's the money. Let's get going. Let's go.
I like to make a memorable entrance.
It's a rare one when you do that, and it was a bit of a juggle to handle that, burning a hole in my pocket until I got back to Melbourne. But awesome, man, awesome. So look, that's a really interesting kind of intro. But it's good to hear that you understood and obviously saw that there was a value in it. So when you kind of connected up, and obviously Dymphna goes through, I mean, as you know, and everyone knows, Dymphna goes through a stack of information. There's so much that she kind of delivers, and you would have seen a whole lot of kind of different approaches, different strategies, and so forth. So what did you first kind of get into? Like, what were your, I mean, I suppose I should ask, like, you're wanting to accomplish something. Do you know what I mean? You wanted to come in for a specific reason, and you knew that you had this deal. Yeah. So what kind of happened? What was the first thing that happened for you? What did you first get into?
So I guess the example she used on the one day thing, where it's sort of, I'm seeing people making all this money, and it's like, oh, that's a bit of me. I want some of that. And yeah, that's I guess that was what spurred me on to join up. I sort of jumped straight into the quantum side of things because I could see there was a bit more on offer there. You had specialty weekends, and I guess for the first 9 months of going through the ultimate and all the weekends, it was like all these amazing things and seeing people do amazing stuff, like be it townhouse developments or rooming houses or commercial or just doing a duplex or subdivisions, whatever. It all looked amazing, but it was like a kid in a lolly shop, too many shiny things sort of thing. And the wheels were kind of spinning. So my mind was going all over the show, wanting to do everything and did nothing.
That's Jeff, I've got to say that's kind of so common. It's a little bit overwhelming, isn't it, when you first start? Where do you go? Yeah. So what did you do? What happened then?
So I sort of went through all the various different specialty weekends, spent a lot of time going between here and the Gold Coast, which seemed to be where a lot of them were. And probably got about 9 months in and spoke to Greg Miller, one of the platinum coaches, at the back of the room one day. And I think it might have been the Fast Profit weekend, the Fast Profit. There's another one they put together with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying to Greg, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I think we'd just seen the presentation on the storage units. I said, I really want one of them, and even went out to see Break and said, how do I do that? But one of the challenges for me, I'd always been self-employed. So sometimes my income's up here and it's down there. And so finance is always going to be a bit of a hurdle. And anyway, Greg was able to sort of pull me back and say, okay, what are you trying to achieve? And Dymphna asked this on the first ultimate thing, what do you want? And can you actually crystallize what you want? Me, no, I couldn't. I knew, okay, I want to get out of what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis and live the life of a a property developer, property investor, and then have the good life. But did I really know what I wanted? No, I suppose getting out of work was my why. But anyway, Greg was able to sort of,
Jeff, just on that point as well.
Yeah.
Dymphna does mention it's one of the hardest things you'll do. Is to actually kind of sit down and work out exactly what you do want. I mean, most of us can say, I can tell you exactly what I don't want.
Yes.
But can you really crystallize exactly what you do want? Yeah, important one, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, so that conversation with Greg, he was sort of able to sort of pull it back and say, okay, you need to do cash flow. You need to either do commercial or you need to do rooming houses, something like that. I thought, yeah, okay, this guy's going to give me a bit of guidance. So get me into platinum. All right, sign me up. So went through the process and the interview that they do and went through the platinum process. Do you want me to sort of elaborate, keep going on that? Or
yeah, well, I think the platinum is a little bit different. It's quite a different program. It's not for everybody, but it is available to you as very much an accountability kind of thing. And is that really the reason? Obviously, having access to one of the platinum coaches, such as Greg, as well, is phenomenal. But it's also it is an accountability, and it's putting yourself into a different space.
Exactly.
So if you can elaborate a little bit more on just like, well, what is that? What it was for you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like this guy was able to just make everything that was a bit overwhelming seem simple. So I guess that was why I thought, yep, I need this. I need this. And there's lots and lots of people out there that are doing amazing things without even touching platinum. But for me, I figured I needed this accountability and just the regular check-ins with the coach, talking to him on the phone, doing the lists, your weekly and your monthly lists. And I was one of these people that, if you ever talk to Greg about me, he'd tell you religiously, I sent that list through every week and I made sure I got done what was on that list. So if I said, okay, I'm going to do a feasibility on doing a duplex on a block in X suburb, I did it. I made the phone calls to, the difficult things, the scary things that you haven't done before and putting yourself out there. So I didn't want to get on the next.
Sorry to interrupt, Jeff. Can you just explain a little bit about that? So you're sending in a list to Greg to keep yourself accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's part of the platinum process. So not only do they drill a lot deeper into each strategy, but you're working on the mindset, you're working on your planning, and these lists are all part of it. So
awesome.
You're doing your list and it's like, okay, I'm going to get that done on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. I'm going to make those calls to those agents and going to keep hassling that agent because he sounds like he knows lots about what I want. Those sorts of things. So, I didn't want to be getting on the next call with Greg and saying, well, okay, there's my list. I haven't done those things. I didn't want to be caught, looking like a bit of a wally who made this list and hadn't done it. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So basically it held you to account. You kind of went along with that accountability. It was like, and it pushed you into doing some pretty amazing things, didn't it? So did you want to kind of get into what occurred for you?
So as in deals?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you're going to be, because you were speaking to all the agents, weren't you? You were kind of like you're following the process. So yeah, what happened?
So the first deal we did, we'd actually already started it just before I joined up with Platinum, and it was our PPR deal. It was a 1 into 2 lot subdivision, and like years and years before, when we actually bought the property, I'd looked at it, corner block, yeah, we can subdivide that, but I didn't know really whether we could. I didn't know what the rules were. Turned out we had to build on the back to do it. So we did the new construction, which is where we live now. Nice new home. And did the renovation myself on the old house in the front. Probably getting a bit past doing that sort of work these days, but did. So went through that whole process. But the coming back to the Platinum thing, when we started it, one of the first things Greg got me to do was, even though we'd already kind of gotten the ball rolling on this project, he said, right, I want you to do a full feasibility on this project. And it's like, oh, really? Do I have to? We've already started it. And that was all part of the accountability and the fact that he pushed me into doing that. And, you know, I'd have probably, before this, I'd have probably gone out and first builder I'd spoken to, oh, he's a good guy, that sounds all right, let's go with him. But Greg's saying, no, you got to get more quotes, you got to, you know, check this and go into more details of what else is selling around the place and what does it look like, and go into a lot more detail about it. So the fact that I did all that, it probably saved me the cost of going into platinum, just in doing that and dealing with different builders, and learned a lot more along the way too, and about, you know, building a new home and doing a subdivision and all those sorts of things. So yeah, very helpful there. So
interesting, isn't it? It's how simple an approach of holding you to an account can actually, you know, save you or make you, you know, the cost of the program. Yeah.
It wasn't only the accountability with Greg, it was the other students that were in there, because what they do when you get in there, you'll get paired up with someone else and you've got to check in with them each week or each fortnight to see what they're doing, if they're going along with their goals. And you've got to sort of say to them, okay, well, I told you last week I'm going to be doing this. I've done it or I haven't done it. And once again, I didn't want to be left with my pants down sort of thing. So that was another accountability thing. And you've got people coming from all sorts of different walks of life, and they've got all kinds of problems or issues that they've had in the past that they're trying to work through. And I sort of look at my own situation and think, well, I got it pretty easy. What's my excuse? So it kind of spurs you on, and you see what people are working through and to achieve what they're doing. Yeah.
So how did it stack up? How did this deal? Because you're doing a new build on the back, Reno on the front. How did it stack up from a profit side of things?
So because we'd bought the house a number of years before, I wanted to do it as though it was a deal that we were going into at the time, rather than working on the old figures. So at the time, we would have bought the house on the old house on the land at $680,000. Okay, the total development by the time we'd done the subdivision and there was a bit of work, the renovation on the old house and built the new house, it was just short of 1.3 million. So when we got to the end of it, the new value on the old house and the new value on the new house combined came up to 1.665 million. So on that project, if you like, you could call it $375,000 in profit, or a 29% return, which is not too shabby, I don't think, anyway.
Absolutely, and you haven't calculated the uplift when you initially purchased it, because you wanted to look at it as a deal that you would enter into.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. So you obviously you've made way more than that, but that was prior to purchasing. Yeah, cool.
So, I mean, if you went on the purchase price on what we bought it for, there's another 350 odd grand that we made there. So, but over a period of time.
Yeah, but you're looking at it from a present point of view. So, mate, that's awesome. So 29% return, 375, great start, first deal.
Yeah. And well, I mean, still in that new house, which is, you know, as everybody knows, the last couple of years things have gone mad, so it's gone up again. So, you know, we're at the end of that process. We valued the new house at 950. It's now sitting somewhere around the 1.2. So it's kept going up. So that's
another 250 there. That's
call it the cream on the cake, if you like.
Whatever. Yeah. Nice one. Awesome, man. Awesome. So, but you didn't stop there. You went on, did another deal, yeah? Yeah.
So going through the platinum process, I guess being the sort of person that's self-employed and liking to do things my way, even though Greg had said to me right back at the beginning, right, you need to come in and do commercial or rooming house, something like that, because cash flow is really what you need. I sort of said to him, yeah, I'll get back. That's on the list. I'll get back to that later. But I want to do this. And I want to do that. And I didn't just gloss over these things. Like I spent 4 months drilling into NDIS housing. Now I know there's some people out there doing amazing things with that. But for me, where I wanted to do it, I couldn't make it work. There was too many challenges. At the time, it was all new, and the government departments weren't talking to each other, but I won't bore you with that. So, that was one thing. I was looking at townhouses, duplexes. I did look at a style of rooming houses. Went full circle. By the end of the first 12 months of Platinum, I actually came back to where Greg had told me to start, which was commercial. So went out and started looking for your typical commercial property that had a lease on it, where we could find something to do to it, whether we add on or do something to get some uplift from it as well. And part of the whole I Love Real Estate and Platinum, one of the areas of it that when you sign up you don't expect is working on that 6 inches of real estate between your ears. And that's something that I had to work on, and I'd still have to work on. And one of my mental blocks was I really wanted to do something close to home, and I couldn't find anything that ticked all the boxes close to home. But in the process of looking for one of these ideal properties that already had a lease on it, managed to come across a really helpful agent. And there was some new land being sold in a subdivision. And I know if you listen to some of the stuff, they say, don't buy in a subdivision because you're going to get to the other end of it and have all this competition. The agent that I was dealing with, and one of the keys to all the deals I've done has been the team I've had around me, and he was really key to this. He knew exactly what was going to be in demand. He knew what else was being built in the area. He knew what we'd get for it at the other end. He had contacts. He could sort of point me in the right direction for doing the construction, all that sort of thing. So we bought the land, and that was while we were still doing the PPR deal. This all happened around the time that COVID hit, the first lot. Prior to that, we'd done all the feasibilities. I'd gone and seen my finance broker, and the banks had said, yeah, we'll give you 65% LVR on that. All good. We can do the construction. That's fine. When it came to actually, when COVID hit, they suddenly dropped it to 50%. It's like, holy moly, what are we going to do now? So wow. I owned the bit of land. It kind of got put in the too hard basket for the moment because we were doing the PPR deal. And so we continued on and finished the PPR deal and then got back to it. Managed to finance it through sheer persistence and grit. And by the end of the year, had the DA through, all ready to go. And, the rubber hit the road, and it all happened fairly quickly after that. So I don't know, do you want me to go into figures on that or on that?
Yeah. Look, it's an interesting point that that you run into. I mean, the thing you've brought up too is that you often run into issues and problems that you don't foresee, and obviously, getting a 65% LVR down to 50% because of a situation really kind of, it's something you have to deal with because you're already in the deal. You've already purchased the land, haven't you? You're there, so you got to find a solution in one way or another. Right. And you had to look for other sources of finance, didn't you, to solve that?
Yeah. So we ended up we worked out we weren't actually going to need the finance for that long because they were warehouses. They're concrete boxes. They don't take as long to build as houses or townhouses, that sort of thing. We figured at the most we were going to need this finance for 6 months. And so we ended up going private finance, which you're getting up there in interest. I think we were paying, by the time you took in all the fees and bits and pieces into it, we're somewhere between 13 and 14% interest on these things. But it all worked out in the FISO. And so we charged ahead with it and had it constructed within 6 months. Got them all sold while they were being constructed. And one of the things that was always playing on my mind during this project was we'd started to try and get pre-sales, but concrete boxes are pretty hard to sell as pre-sales. So I found out now. So I was always saying to the agent, we're not getting it. I was a bit worried we weren't getting any. And he said, look, as soon as these start coming out of the ground, you're going to get inquiries. And sure enough, they started happening mid-January. By the end of January, we were getting flooded with inquiries. So he was dead on the money there, which is great. Got them all sold. The market also moved in our favour, which was good. We did have some challenges along the way, like a lot of people who do development. Getting out of the ground can be a bit of a challenge. We hit rock, which is always a bit of fun. Once again, I was thinking, God, it's going to cost us another 50 grand. It turned out it was only 15 grand. So that was all right on this size of deal. So
just on that, Jeff, like you're doing this while you're in the Platinum program with Greg.
Yep.
So, like when you run into an obstacle like that, you're going back to Greg to help you to find out a solution, or because I'm just the thing I wanted to kind of find out from you is that obviously with any kind of deal you're always going to run into problems, and I want to know how do you resolve them, and how do you approach them? Are you changing your approach? I want to kind of just understand how you, because you're talking about from a mindset point of view as well.
Yeah.
Are you leaning on the Platinum community? Are you leaning on just so that the obviously students who are not involved with Platinum so much, how do you work through that process of overcoming those kind of obstacles, especially with a deal like this? It has multiple problems. It doesn't just have one.
Yeah.
And I know you've come out with a profit. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting thing that you're running into a problem. You think, oh no, I'm not going to have money. It's going to cost me so much.
Yeah.
These things are hitting you.
Yeah.
So how do you? Can you kind of?
I guess it's just. I mean, I can be a fairly stubborn person. I've been persistent, but I suppose the help from the community was more seeing what other people had done. They you're in a room with a whole bunch of other people. They've all had challenges along the way, and they've found a way through. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how. You just got to keep at it. So going back to Greg was not so much him saying, all right, you got to do this, this, and this. He's not going to tell me exactly what to do. I'm going to go back to him, and he's going to say, okay, what do you think your options are? And so I'm saying to him, well, we can do this, or we can do this, or we can do this. And he'll say, okay, what do you tell me to do my numbers on each of those options, sort of thing. And it's like, okay, keep pushing down that path. And he's just it's really just keeping me accountable. It comes back to that whole accountability thing. And pushing and saying back, one of the things Greg would always say, if I was doubting myself, he'd be saying, back yourself. You know this stuff, you can do it. It's just having that person in your corner that has that faith in you that they can see it. We all have some pretty bad self-talk going on up here, but they can see it from the outside, which is really great.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how did it, obviously with all of those challenges and so forth, such as, obviously hitting rock, there's more costs there, finance, private finance, cranking up there from a dollar's point of view.
Yeah.
But you still came out with a profit. So your feasibility and the deal, it would have been a whole lot better, but you've still come out with a profit. How did it end up?
And look, the learning experiences we had going through that, and like I mentioned before, I'm becoming a far more details orientated person, whereas I didn't used to be. There was a couple of things we missed where we could have made a bit more on, but anyway, I'll know for the next one. So to give you an idea, the total, hang on, I've got it written down here, but I'm trying to understand my own writing here. Total development cost on this, the budget, we'd gone in at about 1.55. It turned out it was more like 1.56. So there were a couple of things came under what we expected. But on the budget side of things, we'd expected 1.88 and we ended up getting 1.98. So where the market helped a bit because it was the start of the COVID boom, which everybody was saying, the sky is going to fall. It actually went the other way. At the start of the project, we were looking around 20% return on it. It ended up 24%, or 383,000 profit if you really want to get down to the nuts and bolts of it. So very satisfying, a lot of learning from it, and I guess the key takeouts from that, once again, is get the right team around you. I had a brilliant legal person on board with me. Because there was because we had 5 warehouses, and 2 of the purchases were being very challenging, shall we say. So and he just kept persisting. He kept going back to them, and we finally got it there in the end. The builder was brilliant. I mean, could I have found somebody cheaper? Maybe. I think these guys, they had such a great team. They had their own town planner on board, and I was just on their back the whole time, saying, okay, where are we up to? What's happening here? Or something's happening. Why is that happening? Why are we doing that? So they're able to, just answer those questions. So if you've got somebody that you've got that relationship with, and I'm sure I probably drove them mad some days, but that's what you get to do to get the result. So getting that team, the builder, the agent, the legal guy, they were probably the key people in it. So
yeah, awesome, man. And look, a great return for all those challenges as well.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, really happy with that one.
So then you then kind of leave it off that, went on to another deal, commercial, yeah.
Yeah, so still going down the commercial path. So this one is a bit different. I guess in that last one, the development one, a couple of the learnings were we should have sold them with mezzanines in there. We could have made more money on that. That was one of the big learnings. The other one was check out the slope a bit more before you get into it, because that was we had a $70,000 retaining wall at the back of that comes straight out of your profit.
Yeah.
And I guess hindsight's all very well, but I look back at it and thought, geez, why didn't we hang on to those a little bit longer? We could have made another couple $100,000 the way the market went.
Yeah,
you don't know that at the time, so you learn from it, move on. So the next one was actually up in southeast Queensland. These I suppose you call them a combination of cash flow and chunk deals. So it's what I was looking for before I went into this development. These are a couple of warehouses up there. They're about 10 years old, but I actually ran the gauntlet just before Christmas, got on a plane and flew up there with masks and goggles and everything on so I wouldn't catch COVID, and went and had a quick look at them. And there's tenants in there at the moment, but when they were leased out, it was done in a very flat market. So they leased them out on a square metre rate. So where the square metre rate at the time was sort of sitting around that $90 a square metre, the market rate now is sitting around $130 a square metre. So that's where your lease, what you get for your lease, has a direct impact on what the value is. So when the leases on those come up in about 12 months' time and we can bump it up to market rate, that will increase the value. That's where the chunk is on that one. But at the same time, even though they're under what I would consider under charged at the moment for their lease, they're still very high cash flow. So at the moment, they're sitting at about 35 grand positive cash flow a year.
And that's awesome. So I'm just trying to work out like a percentage rate of that. Is it like about a 20%, 25% increase on the lease, and it's already positive cash flow?
Yeah. So if you took that over, so one of the leases comes up in 12 months, the other one's in 2 years.
Yep.
So if you looked at it as a 2-year project, if we sold it, it actually works out around about 45% that we'll get out of that to what we're putting into it.
Yep. Wow. 45%.
Yeah, that's on our money, not on the project. On it.
Yeah. No. I get that. It's a return on investment. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
ROI. Yeah.
Yeah, but then that is positive cash flow. Like I say, 35 positive at the moment. By the time we've got them up to market rate, it'll be, depending on what happens with the interest rates, it'll be somewhere between 50 and 60. So yeah.
Awesome. What an awesome deal, hey?
It's a good start.
It's a good start. You're setting your sights higher now, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Actually, this is an interesting point. How, like, you've come through, this is now the second commercial deal that you're doing. Are you now looking bigger? Like, how is your approach to looking at your next deal? Like, obviously when you're first starting out and you're starting off a little bit smaller. Yep. Now you're getting a bit bigger. Are you now have you expanded your viewpoint and now looking at deals that you would have never looked at before?
Well, if it had 7 figures on it a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have even touched it. That would have been far too scary, because and my wife sort of signed the papers shakily. She doesn't get too involved in it, but yeah, that's fine. Yes, I'm probably looking more from the point of view. So, okay, we've got another one that we're about to settle on in the end of this month. It's probably maybe a little bit outside some people's comfort zone because it's actually the end of it's a similar thing again, a warehouse, half warehouse, half office, pretty much brand new. End of a developer's line. So we got it at a bit of a discount. It is vacant. So our challenge is being tenanted. And we believe we can do that in the next 3 months. So that one will be positive cash flow, but the way it's been financed, I'm locked into it for 12 months. So the way the cap rates are moving in the area that we've bought it, now, I don't know, people probably don't understand cap rates. So it's really about supply and demand. So if you're buying something, let's say you're buying something with a 6% return, if there's more demand, people are going to pay more for that, which means the return when you buy it is going to be lower. So if the cap rate, which is like your general rate across the market, drops from 6% to 5%, you've just made a whole bunch of money. Like, what's that, 20%, something like that.
Yeah.
As everybody knows, a bit similar, somebody said, a bit similar to Dan, the new coach. Yes, Dan's a good mate of mine, and he's yeah, he's doing some great stuff.
Yeah.
So we all know the resi market's gone mad, and you know, I looked at a couple of resi deals before I jumped into these couple that I'm doing at the moment, and people are just jumping straight on them, overpaying for them. It's crazy there. And so a lot of people have gone from the resi market across to the commercial market. So that pushes more demand on there, which drops the cap rate. So if you already own the property and you bought it at, say, 6%, and the market, because of the demand, they're getting a lower return, drops to 5%, that's where you're making a chunk. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing on this one, because the cap rate on the area that we're looking at is definitely dropping, just even since we have bought these last couple. You know, the area that we're looking in, they were sort of low 6s. Things are now selling mid 5s and heading pretty rapidly toward 5. So that's really nice. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So now, there is a question here. Eugene is asking, what was your rationale for doing a chunk deal in developing industrial warehouses as your second deal if your goal was for cash flow?
Yeah, I probably went a bit off track there. And yeah, I guess it was just, you know, I could see there was a few $100,000 in profit there, and it's like, oh yeah, I could go and buy a warehouse and get, you know, 30 grand or something like that, positive cash flow, or I can go and do this development and make a few $100,000. So it was just, I don't know, the carrot was too big. They were dangling it there for me, so I jumped at it. But I guess what I didn't take into consideration was the finance. I mean, I did look into the finance, and at the time, like I said, 65%. I thought, yep, I can do that. But yeah, then we had to make a few changes and be a bit creative in how we got it. So yeah, interesting. But now I'm back on track. I'm looking more at cash flow stuff, or more to the point, I'm looking at something where I can recycle my capital and keep moving forward, as well as getting that cash flow. So yeah,
exactly what Dymphna says, isn't it? Yeah. The deal has to put you in a better position moving forward, so you can continually do deals. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, the ultimate deal is where you can recycle all the money you put into it, pull that out, and still have the cash flow there. So you've got a free income coming in. It hasn't cost you anything. So these ones probably aren't quite at that level, but we're getting there.
Awesome. Yeah. So now that's all on that. Now you kind of let us know about the third deal, the commercial one. That went from 35K positive to 65. Was that right?
Look, on if you start,
it will do.
Yeah, within a couple of years, because we are locked in with the interest rate. So by the end of 2 years, it'll be sitting around 65. But then if we've got to renegotiate the interest rate, it'll probably, because that'll take a little bit of the meat out of it. So it'll be, somewhere in that, probably should be, I would say, between that 55 and 60 rather than the 65. So yeah.
Awesome. A great return, hey? And then 45% return over 2 years. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now you've got another one in the pipeline now, haven't you?
Yeah. That's the other one that we've bought, where we'd settle on it at the end of this month. Like I say, it's the end of a developer's line. So he's wanting to get out of that one. It's one in a complex of about 20. And I think through the COVID period, he was having a few challenges selling them, but things have picked up now. So we jumped in on one of the last ones in there, and he was just happy to get out. But the funny thing was, he was very specific about the amount. We were trying to get him down a bit further, and he'd obviously figured out the exact amount he could go down to, and it was like within the dollar almost. So that's what we ended up paying. So
okay.
Yeah.
And obviously you've covered on that deal as well. Profit wise, how's it going to turn out?
Profit on that one. So okay, we've gone into that one. It's called round figures that we went in. It's about 850. And these figures, anybody who's watching, don't let these figures scare you. You're not putting in 850. You're coming up with the deposit, which, okay, in commercial is a bit higher than residential. You're probably looking more like a third rather than 20% on your normal 80-20 loan. And there's different ways you can structure it. So this one, because it's vacant, once again, we had to be a little bit careful how we financed it. And we've gone in on a no doc loan, so the interest rate is a bit higher, and we're locked in for that 12 months. Now we might get to the end of that 12 months and say, oh, this has got amazing cash flow, and end up keeping it and redrawing the capital out of it. But with the lease that we will get on that, so round figures, 850, there are costs involved in getting it leased out. The agents charge you for that. We're expecting a few months downtime, and we may have to put incentives in there to get people in there, maybe a few months of free rent. So by the time you go through all that stuff, we're sitting around about the 950 to 970 total cost on this one. When it revals in 12 months' time, we're expecting it to be around about 1.25.
Awesome.
So, that's over 250,000 in return on that one. Call it
in 12 months.
25+%.
In 12 months.
It'll be 12 months, yeah. From when we settle to when we can sell, I should say.
Awesome.
But I'll reassess it when we get to the end of the 12 months and see what else is happening in the market. I may pull the chunk out of that and pay the so one of the things we've got to weigh up is, do we take that chunk and pay the tax on that chunk, or do we redraw off that property,
and
hold on to it for the cash flow and find something else? So so that's when we get there. We're just going to have to assess that situation.
Choices, but they're good choices to make too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Mate, awesome. So this is pretty much what you've done in the space of probably almost 3 years, isn't it? Just a little bit over 3 years.
Really?
Because you started 4 years ago, but you kind of went and
that first year didn't really do a lot. So
I
often got confused. So
found your way out of the confusion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with the guidance of some very good coaching.
Awesome. Now, look, one of the things I always find interesting is how do you overcome problems and obstacles? And you've covered that on a couple of different things. Obviously, the deal where there was issues that were coming up, and also on the finance. Was there anything else that you wanted to share along those lines about how you? Because you're starting to do larger deals now, and you've really got a great approach to be able to overcome those. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention on that?
Look, I guess you've just got to get that solution mindset, persistence, just find a way through. There's always an answer. Don't let it get overwhelmed. I mean, some people, some little thing goes wrong, and the world's coming to an end. But you just got to keep your head, and if you're not sure, there's plenty of people in this community that you can ask questions of, be it one of the coaches or one of the other students, and you pretty quickly get to figure out who's doing what. People will give you different ideas, and they may be doing a totally different strategy, but what you do find once you've looked at a few strategies, a lot of the things although it's different strategies, there's a lot of parallels. So and your research, your physios, your process, it's all there. So if you run into problems, there's always a way through. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how. It's just being persistent, sticking out, being like a dog with a bone, really. Just keeping at it. There's no magic wand. It's just keep your head about you, and that's where it comes back to that mindset thing.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. Good. Okay, so now we have a bit of a question here from Eugene again. Deals 2, 3, and 4. Did you have to use your self-employed serviceability to get into them, or were they financed standalone on each deal's merits by the lender? This is a commercial kind of response. So
that's one of the really attractive things about commercial. So everybody's in a different situation. Some people have got a really high income, some people have got good equity, some people have got nothing. So, and that's often dictates the strategy you're going to choose. So for me, I had a bit of equity there. My income was probably not something I really wanted to brag about to the bank. So we had to look at it another way. So it was development finance. Yes, I mean, it ended up being private finance on that first one. Yes, they wanted to know that we could look after ourselves. We weren't going to go bust and take their money and run. And the way it was structured, we couldn't do that anyway because they were paying straight to the builder. So that one, it was done on the project. Now, not all banks, not your mainline banks, are going to do that. There's a number of different things they'll look at. They want to look at your experience. Now, I hadn't done that before, so that would have probably wiped me off the sheet. And whether you can service the loan if things don't sell, that sort of thing. So the private finance, yes, I paid probably double what I would have paid doing it through a bank if I could have gotten it through a bank. But you do what you got to do to get the job done. Second one was done on a lease doc loan. So that's where there's a lease in place, and that's going to more than, like we said, it was positive cash flow. So it's going to more than cover the cost of the loan. Once again, with these things, you do, the banks are going to ask you for guarantees. So if things go pear-shaped, they can come after you. They can, the deals I'm in on at the moment, if everything goes to custard, they can come after my house. They don't have a mortgage over it, but I've signed agreements saying they can. Now, the chances of that happening are so slim because, I've already put in a third deposit. So, if they went and sold those properties for even 2/3 of what we've paid, they're going to get their money back.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I might not, but they're going to get their money back. So is there risk involved? Yeah, there's risk involved in anything. I mean, you can go into a subdivision and still,
yeah. But certainly you've had it now drilled into you that it's now an exact calculated risk, and exactly those calculations because you've held yourself accountable to do those physios that Greg's been pushing you to do.
Doing those physios, and look, if you're not, Dymphna says it over and over again, if you're not confident going into a deal, you haven't done enough physios, or you haven't done enough reverse physios. Find a deal that somebody else has done and work backwards from there. And, look up on the council website who did the build, who did the town planning. Make the phone calls and find out all the figures for it. So it's just going through all that process. Absolutely. I did that on a number of other strategies too. So learning the process, that's probably the big thing that Platinum taught me, because they do drill a lot deeper in each strategy.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, Jeff. Now, are you looking at JVs at all?
I am. That's
Yeah.
on my to-dos, or not my to-dos, on my calendar. I've got a big wall calendar over there. You can't see it, but it's a big wall calendar over there.
Yeah.
And I've got some time frames of when I want to do a few more of similar ones to what I've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you like, because obviously you're now in a different place to obviously when you started, and you've probably got an approach to JVs. How do you approach it? Like, I know that from Dymphna's side of things, she will say you need to do due diligence on a deal. You
Yep.
also need to do due diligence on a JV partner.
Exactly.
Do you have your own approach to that? Do you want to share a little bit about how you approach that?
Well, I haven't actually done a JV yet, so that's all quite new. But look, I've seen enough done and enough going on around me that yes, it's a matter of getting everything possible down on paper, and call it a heads of agreement, call it what you want. Just getting a good understanding with the other person, what their expectations are out of it, what their responsibilities, if any, are out of it. How you're going to structure the deal, whether it's just a straight finance agreement or whether the whole thing's going into their name and I'm getting a cut of the profit at the other end. I mean, every deal is going to be different, but it's getting everything understood up front and then communication after that. So even though it was a private finance guy that got me through the development deal, I still had to communicate everything back to him. And I mean, you saw some of the videos I put up on Facebook about that one. I had to do, so basically I forwarded those on to him so he could see what was going on. It wasn't just for ILRE Real Estate Facebook, as well as a written report saying, okay, here's where the build's up to. These are the challenges we've faced. This is how we've gotten through those challenges. This is the inquiries we've had on sales. This is the feedback we're getting from people who are looking at them. This is what else is selling around the area and what they're going for. Just all the information. So it's being totally transparent in everything you're doing, and just keeping everybody in the loop. And so I guess that's the nearest thing I've done to a JV, is having that guy as a finance partner. So it's like a JV, I suppose. And that's exactly how I would approach anything in the future, is just keeping that communication. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a property deal, business deal, and I have my own business, or a marriage. If you're not communicating, it's not working, is it?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And you also highlighted the importance of having a good team around you.
Yes.
And you obviously want to kind of, connect with someone who's a team player with you as well. And
take a lot of stock and look, you can do a lot of, you got to kiss a lot of frogs before you get a princess, sort of thing. That's what my father said to me at my wedding. And it's the same with dealing with professionals. You talk to a lot of agents. After a while, you get to know the ones that know their stuff, and it's, you start to put a bit of stock in what they say, and you got to back it up with your own research. I mean, if they're saying, "Oh, we can get you X amount at the other end," you got to do your homework on that, and know that's where it is. So, if somebody's trying to sell you a deal that's looks marvelous, you got to do that. I mean, somebody came to me the other day with not that I'm doing subdivisions, but it was a subdivision deal, and by the time we worked out all the tax and GST and everything else, at face value, it looked fantastic. But by the time we went through it all, we were down to single figures percentage wise what the return was going to be, and okay, it was making a profit, but do you really want to? We can do better.
yeah. Interesting. So all those times of doing those physios is now paying off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Greg pushing me to do those things, it's paid off.
Yeah, good. Hey, Jeff, how is your life different now? Like how are you kind of doing things differently to when you first joined?
So one of the things that probably didn't exactly go to plan, when I started this, I was contracting to another company on my day job. I do window furnishings. Those blinds behind me, I impressed Michael before by pushing a button and they went up and down. So I do blind shutters, curtains. That's the day job. Contracting to another company, and they were in control. It was like a job really. And they were making changes that didn't sit with me very well because I had my own businesses in the past doing the same sort of thing. So I decided, righto, I'm going to set up my own business. And when I started that, the idea was, okay, I'm going to build my own business. It's going to be big. I'm going to take on staff, and that'll be another cash flow deal that I can just skim money off the top. But when I started getting into it, it was like, oh, I'd done that 15, 20 years ago. And it was just a whole lot of headaches. You're dealing with a lot of other personality staff. Anybody who's employed staff may know that. Now, obviously, if your systems are good enough, great, but it's not really where I wanted to go. So what started off as wanting to be something big, I pulled it back, and now it's just me and a couple of other guys doing all the donkey work for me, which is great. Now, where was I going with that? Oh, okay. Now I'm working, because I'm working in my own business, I can control my time a lot better. So really, I'm probably only really spending half the week on that day business and focusing the other half of the week on the property side of things. So that's one big change. The other big change is the mindset and knowing where I'm going to be. It's just not a dream out there. It's knowing where you're going to be in 12 months, 2 years' time. It's not just something I've written down on paper. It's knowing the steps, how I'm going to get there. So yeah, that's something that didn't exist before, a plan.
And also, it sounds like you got a pretty strong confidence you're gonna be where you intend to be in the next 12 months, next 24 months, whatever it is. Yeah. It's like no, the things I put in place actually, they occur. I make them occur.
Yeah, it's just that persistence, that sticking with it, and just not if but how. And it's just if it doesn't go quite to plan, you got to be flexible. Okay, we'll do it this way instead of doing it that way, but we'll still come out with the same end result. So yeah,
fantastic, man, fantastic. Yeah. So if someone was to, like, we've got obviously a number of new students that have just joined in. If they were to just kind of join in and go, hang on, hey Jeff, I want to find out from you, if you've been involved with for a bit of time, what advice would you give to like a new student who's literally just joined up, got into the program and like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah,
shiny objects everywhere. You've been there. What would you say to them?
Look, I think you've got to go back to the basics if you're getting overwhelmed with it. And Dymphna goes through this, but there's so much information; it all kind of gets lost in the wash. Go back to the basics. Have a look at your own situation, and figure out what you can do with your current money and your current skills. What do you need to work on? Do you need to if you've got to do JVs, do you need to work on your person-to-person skills? And it doesn't have to be marvelous if the figures show up, and as long as you're communicating well, that's good. So just narrow it down. Keep it simple to start with. Don't try and, I've probably jumped in and done stuff bigger than maybe I should have to start with. Maybe I should have done some smaller stuff, but I guess I'd already done smaller stuff way back when I didn't know how to do it. And learned a bit from that as well. So, stick with your renos or your reno subdivisions, the simple little things, or just do lots of FISOs. Look at what other people are doing, and learn that way. Make the phone calls. Sit down with town planners or agents. Learn from them. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Get into it.
Once you've found a strategy, try and stay focused on it. I haven't. I have now, but in the past I didn't.
Yeah. Got it. You learnt that one. Now we've got, I think it's Namis. Commercial deals look unreachable to me at the moment.
Nothing's unreachable. Look, there's different. Look, I've gone into it. I'm fortunate enough that I've built a bit of capital there that I can get into it. And yes, you do need a third to go into under traditional sort of lending things, but everything you want to try and do in a residential situation, you can do in commercial. Look, you can do an owner JV where you're not putting any money in. I don't know who saw, is it Tom who was on last week?
No, James.
James. I don't know who saw his thing, but he's doing no money down deals like they're going out of fashion. That blew me away. But you can do the same in commercial. Do your homework, make sure the thing can be leased out. But if you've got somebody who's trying to sell something that's been on the market, you're probably going to have to go regional to do it, because everything's in hot demand in Metro at the moment. But if you can find something where somebody's trying to sell something that they might have been on the market for a while, they're going to be a lot more open to negotiation. See, I guess one of the things the differences between resi and commercial, residential people tend to buy and sell a lot more on emotion. So, today it could be black and white, tomorrow it could be any color of the rainbow, what their emotion is. Whereas commercial's a lot more, it's contracts that you're dealing with. So everything's in writing. If you can negotiate that and put it on paper, that's what it's going to be. I've seen people do no money down deals in commercial and do quite well out of it. It's whatever you can negotiate. JV deals, owner JVs. There's more ways than one of killing a cat, Michael.
Thanks, Jeff. Awesome.
And
right.
Look, I mean, the figures I'm talking about, okay, those are bigger dollar amount properties. They don't have to be that big. You can get into smaller. I've seen people go into $200,000 shops and do them up and get them leased out and make a chunk on that.
Yeah. Multiple ways of getting into it. Yeah.
Or buying a car park for $50,000 or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. Indeed. Jeff, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Look, I hope people get something out of that. If anybody wants to talk in more depth about doing a deal or something, I'm open to people reaching out. Yeah.
And thanks for sharing as well, because I know that you mentioned a few times and you have done a number of videos into the Facebook community. So the Ultimate Facebook community, if you haven't had a look, check them out. They are there under the video. You'll probably scroll them under the video tab, and chances are one of the students will type there and type in a question, so it'll pop up in the timeline, Facebook timeline. So check them out. But Jeff, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate you taking out the time. Good to connect and appreciate you sharing and mate, awesome work. Yeah. Awesome deals.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah.
And it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. No, I love connecting up. And
I'm actually looking forward to doing a few more live events where I can get out there and see the likes of your smiley face and a few of the others that this Zoom thing, it's okay, but it's not the same as face to face.
Exactly right. Yeah. Hopefully we can get back to those ones.
You can't buy me a beer over Zoom.
No, I can't. Yeah, I know. Well, don't worry. When I see you, I'll buy your beer. All right.
Sounds great.
Awesome. All right. Well, look, thank you so much for that, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate that. And now for everyone joining us, really appreciate you taking the time out for lunchtime to join. This is gone live into the Facebook community. If you've missed it, if you want to review it, watch it again, it is within Facebook, and I also do an edit and it goes up onto the members only website, so that's where it is. And also you've got a stack of things that are coming up within the community as well. Nicole's on this weekend, Dymphna's on next weekend, and there's a boot camp coming up in a couple of weeks as well. There's no shortage of stuff. And of course we had Greg. Actually, Greg was just on the other night too. Wednesday, he was on Wednesday, and Dan was on there as well. So and we've got obviously those regular
stuff too.
Yeah. There's regular weekly Wednesday webinars coming up every week as well. So heaps of stuff going on, and it's only the beginning of the year. So look, we'll end off there. Do well, everyone that's joining us, and we'll catch up. I'll certainly kind of come back and find out who's going to be coming on next week. But Jeff, thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael,
for joining us today. And we'll catch up with everyone next time round or online, wherever. Hey.
Excellent. Alrighty.
Okay. We'll see everyone now. Okay. Bye now.